Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh Torah review. My name is Zurishaddai. I'm one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Our address is 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. Giving glory to the Creator, King of the universe for all things and everything, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Thanking the Creator for my life, the life of Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. Also thanking the Most High for the life of the leader of our congregation, even Chief Prince Yehudah ben Yissaschar. May the Most High God be with him and be with his family and bless them. At this time, like to give glory to the Creator for all of your lives, all of Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth, and thanking the Creator for all things and everything. Hoping that everyone out there in the internet land is having a great time, has had a great week, and I pray that the Creator will bless you with all the desires of your mind. At this time, we will be going over the Haftarah for Quadosheem, which will be done by none other than Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah, one of my teachers and one of my mentors. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Quadosheem.
Hallelujah.
First of all, I get praise to the Parental universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and due respect to the platform on the D.C.B platform, and spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yehudah ben Yissaschar, to the host, Chief Uzzal, Prince Chief, the Rabbonim, the Kohanim, the Amorim, brothers and sisters, reaching and telling my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom. Well, I know for some particular congregations, when I'm doing a review for Quadosheem, which most people say Quadosheem, which is, just a way you want to pronounce the, the kuf or kuf, with a K. It covers from chapters, which is one of the shortest sidra. It covers the chapters Leviticus 19:1 and goes to the end of 20 and 27. It has a lot of things to do with holiness, holy laws, and some of the stuff that we read about. You say, well, those are some of the items that make us holy. So I'll be just hitting a couple of points in that before I go to the Haftarah. The Haftarah will be in the book of Ezekiel. I'll be using that particular portion of the Haftarah, which is Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, the 2nd verse, and it goes to the 20th verse, but which most Sephardians will use as well. Now, normally this is normally attached and read with akremot, but since this was one of them leap years, it's a little separate. Then, just to remind people why my portions are a little different. I spoke in an earlier podcast, usually when the Shabbat comes in and the Rosh Chodesh comes behind the Shabbat when it's going out. So that means the Shabbat getting ready to go out, come in and, just for general purposes, sundown Friday, and it be going out sundown, what we call Saturday. And then Rosh Chodesh, which be coming in behind that. So that particular Shabbat, just for so that's why you might see the discrepancies. It don't have anything to do with being in Galut, in exile, or outside the land with the extra day and everything of that nature. This is a practice. I don't know. I can't explain why they decided to do that. Maybe somebody else might want to do the research on it, but this is usually the practice this time. And I wasn't, I didn't really bother to try to do that much research in that particular area. But with some interesting things that I left off on when, and from Akremot that I like to bring out first before we go into this particular chapter and highlight some points. And Quadosheem, the 18th chapter of Leviticus, basically, I'll start from the beginning because only a few verses I'm going to talk about. Say, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God, and after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwell, ye shall not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, ye shall not do, neither shall you walk in their statutes. All right, so now I just want to bring that out because I haven't spoken on it extensively when I did do Akrimot, and it's near the end of Akrimot. What is interesting is that when we get ready to go into all the different negative laws, the forbidden relationships, that was nothing new to us. We was accustomed to those things in Egypt. And actually, when you read later on, you're going to find out that we actually, not only that, we participated in a lot of their rights in Egypt. So when we look at some of these things as being so repulsive, yes, we're looking at it now because we're trying to take a higher, holy, moral code of ethics, which is, in the sense of holiness. But we were not only exposed to it, we more often than not participated within it. So, and we get a glimpse of it with some of the most famous families in our literature, where the prohibition would then come out at that time. But prior to that time, certain things was permissible and understood, in that area. So this is just something to talk about more so with your various teachers. In the 4th verse, it says, my ordinances shall you do, and my statutes shall you keep, to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. So, and the 5th verse said, and you shall therefore keep my statutes and my ordinances, which if a man do, he shall live by them. I am the Lord. From that particular last part I read in the 5th verse, what we gain from that is that in order to save a life, when life is in jeopardy, they basically say it's 3 things you don't violate. When you're going to rest your life out. That's just basically a rabbinic deduction, but and that's basically the 3 things they talk about: is idol worship, murder, and adultery. Those are the 3 things that if you're forced to do, then you die for the sake of without profaning the holy name of the Creator. Some people might say, "Well, I ain't ready to go that way yet," but that's from a rabbinic traditional point of view. But what is important that anything, if it comes down to violating the Shabbat to save a human being's life, that human being's life is more important, because once you did that, you help a creature of the Creator, you extended an act of kindness and holiness to the individual, and therefore the law is meant for you to live in and not to die in. And so they took it from this particular verse right here, where if certain dangers where you don't have to compromise, because you can't choose between life and life. I need to murder this guy, or I need to commit adultery with this woman, or I'm choose another God. But when it comes down to saving a life, then you're supposed to save the life, because that's more important. And that's why they extrapolated. They said, the Lord, if you do them, you should live in them. If you're dead, you can no longer live in them. So that's one of the premises they take from that. Take away from that. All right, I'm going to skip over to the 19th chapter, which is Quadosheem, and it opens up. It says, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and saying to them, ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Ye shall fear every man his mother and his father, and shall keep my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. All right, now, you notice it equates. And while I'm at this here, this is, from my perspective, it's not necessary. I want to make it very clear. It's from my perspective. It's not from basically the viewpoints of the platform one with D.C.B. So you get charged up to Crown Prince, what I'm about to tell you in reference to this. All right. not only they in the law, when the Decalogue, we're reading the 20th chapter of Exodus, that the command for the Shabbat is given before the honor of father and mother. But now it's talking about the standing of awe and reverence. Some books translate fear, but the word it uses from means awe, reverence, profound respect. And the mother and the father is placed before the Shabbat, where the father is placed before the mother and the Decalogue in Exodus 20th chapter. So it shows you, and when the Decalogue, when we're going to, like I said before, when we're going to the Decalogue in the 20th chapter, what we find is that when it gets down to honor your father and your mother, and that your days will be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, it gives you a law, a command that you must do, and it tells you why it would be detrimental to you if you didn't do it. So it's within the reason it has the judgment. So now, when I talk about that, and that's something discussed even deeper with the teachers, how great it is. But what I'm saying now, the other viewpoint is we just passed through a weekend, basically what they call Mother's Day, and I know that it's a new holiday. I think started in this country here, and the woman that promoted it basically was not a mother herself from what I remember in history. But when people ask me, should you acknowledge Mother's Day when every day is Mother's Day and every day is Father's Day? And I said, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. Now, this is my viewpoint. Like I said, it's not necessarily the D.C.B platform viewpoint, because often in life, the mother is something that you love and respect every day. I wonder, do you say, I love her? I love your mother every day. I love your mom every day. I love your dad every day. Most of the times, when we was some of us that live in a mother's house or growing up in a mother's house, I'm out. I'm on my way out, or I'm gonna leave at such and such time. And when that time comes, you don't even tell them about you left out the door. So it's little things we do on a regular, every day, that you might not say, I appreciate you for what you're doing, or thank you cook. What you cook? Oh, that's good. Maybe not a thanks in there. Thank you for cooking dinner. Did you wash my clothes? I have any clean clothes? Did you press them for me? Not even a thank you there. So we do so much stuff on our daily thing, and which is even sometimes your spouse. You might not even say, how often you tell your spouse, I love them every day. And then a lot of people will say, okay, I don't have to say I love them, I show them. Then what do you show? When most of the times, most of the day, they might not even see you. Our time is either we're in school, if you're in that young age, or you're on a job, you're coming for some downtime, and you might be focused on some other activity, and then you take care of your own physical needs. So I'm just laying those things out, that it's not a violation of Torah in that sense. Those that still, say, okay, because it started from this event here, I don't observe it. All right, then that's your reason that you have. But to say that you following some other deity because of antiquity, because everything we do, Israel was the last nation on the planet. So I just wanted to take this time and focus on that verse just for a moment and let people know that sometimes we have the saying coming up, don't throw out the baby with the wash water, because some things are precious, because we take more often than not tend to neglect the people that's closest to us in our life, and rarely ever say I appreciate or thanks or I'm going to do something for you special for what you did for me. Rarely. I mean, at 365 days a year, then you could count maybe on your hands, without even getting to your toes, how much you did special for your parents within that year. Or your loved one for that year, within that year. So I just wanted to bring that point out, just because I had a lot of questions that came in between time, and I wanted to express that my thoughts, not necessarily the D.C.B. thoughts, my thoughts on that particular venture there. Now I'm gonna go straight on to skip on down to the 1915, which is very interesting. Is that, well, I started the 14th verse. Thou shalt not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind, but thou shalt fear thy God. I am the Lord, and you shall do no unrighteous in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor favor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. What is important is that, one, you can't be misleading people. You can't redirecting people to their hurt. You can have, sometimes, you say curse to death. Well, he can't hear, so it doesn't matter. But other ways, you could, curse to death or put a stumbling block before the blind. You might go ahead on, and you have, when we get down further on down the line, giving misinformation. And then sometimes you could go so far, which is just covered within this chapter, which I won't really get into, where you might say, oh, that car you had, you need to sell that because, that car causing you too much grief and problems, causing you too much money. It's a gas guzzler. Anytime something goes wrong, it's very expensive. So you need to sell that to somebody, get some money. So now, one, you want to buy your car. You want the car yourself, but you don't want to ask the individual to sell it to you because, you figure he might not sell it to you. So you can give him some information. Now, the information will be hurtful or harmful. Maybe he would be better off selling the car and make a profit. But your intentions is that he sell the car so you could buy from somebody else the same car without going to him directly. Those are some, underhanded dealings. Also, putting a stumbling block before the blind and, redirecting, giving misinformation. But there's a lot of other areas, but I'm not going to focus on that because I'm sure a lot of people spoke on it a lot during that particular portion. I want to skip on down to the 23rd verse in that same chapter. It says, and when you come into the land, and shall plant all manners of trees for food, then ye shall count the fruit thereof as forbidden 3 years, shall it be as forbidden unto you. It shall not be eaten. And in the 4th year, the fruit thereof shall be holy, for giving praise unto the Lord. But in the 5th year, you may eat the fruit thereof, that it may yield unto you more richly the increase thereof. I am the Lord your God. The reason I want to speak on that verse a lot right there is because one time, a lot of people like to plant flowers, rose bushes, carnations, or whatever, the different, tulips and all that kind of stuff. But when you're planting food, and it's only like fruit trees, anything you could eat off of, all right, that 3 years, you can't eat of it, and, sometimes you might say it's uncircumcised, and just the term to use. You can't eat of it. It's forbidden for you to eat from it when you planted a new fruit tree. And in the 4th year, it let you know that you is holy unto the Creator. So now, when you take the fruit thereof from that tree, you got to eat it in a holy place. And if the place is too far, you sell it, turn into money, and buy what you want. But it got to be ate at the holy place, wherever God chose His name to be. That's what you do in the 4th year. And in the 5th year, what is the real thing that we need to focus on is that only then is the produce blessed. It's not blessed 3 years. And the 4th year, when it's holy, it's not blessed. But in the 5th year, it's in blessed, because you created blessed to increase in the 5th year, and you can eat that and wherever you're at. And so, and so I'm talking about, it will not only produce more at that particular time. They have different forms of, things to talk about mysticism and mystic things. We're talking about, emanation, creation, formation, and stuff like that. 4 different areas they talk about in reference to that. But it's interesting to know that only in the 5th year that wherever you planted is blessed. It's not blessed in the 3 years. And though it's holy, you can eat of it, but it's still not blessed in that area. It's only blessed with the increase in the function in the 5th year. And that's strictly straight out from this particular verse. All right, so just to be a little bit brief, I'm gonna move on just a little bit and go on to the 32nd in that same chapter, because there's so many laws in here. It says, thou shalt rise up before the hoary head and under the face of the old man, and thou shalt fear thy God. I am the Lord. So I know a lot of people tend to get up and just stand up anytime a guy might have some silver in his beard and some silver in his hair. And a lot of people tend to do that. But the thing is, it's showing them a particular respect. If the person got there, he might need a seat, offer him a seat. If they got there, say, okay, could I be of service to you? Could I help and assist you in some area? That's put it. Just standing up and just look at him. He took a literal mode. I just rose up and I stood up, but I'm not going and do anything further. But what it's meaning in that sense is that you're supposed to respect and look out for the elder in your community, because whatever they did in life, the Creator gave them a lot of life to reach that point, and you still is trying to track down that area of life that they already living, and so therefore it's stated here that you got to show them a particular respect. That's why Moses was told to go to the elders, not to every prince man, not to every chief man, but to the elders, who actually the ones that recognize who's the chief man here and who's a prince man over here for their household. Those are the ones that the Creator told him to go speak to. So and also sometimes people might be old, but they might not qualify as an elder. Some people I know, and I just want to make this clear as I'm running through. Some people might come and wake up into this way of life at, say, 65 or 60. They come and wake up and ask God at the age of 60. All well and good. They got age, but now do you go to him for advice about Torah? Do you go to him for advice about the Creator? No, you respect that the Creator woke them up, and they came in, and you show them the respect that they reached that age or milestone in age. But when it comes down to getting certain advice in Torah, you might get other advice about other areas, but in Torah, it's a difference. And sometimes we, in some of our communities, we tend, because a person got age and only been in this way of life now to themselves 3 years, all of a sudden now, they the sage of the age, of the ages, I should say. All right, so we're gonna so we gotta keep things in perspective in that. Then I like to go into the 32nd verse in that same chapter, right quick, and it said, let me see, 30 seconds. 1932nd. Oh, I just did that. Okay, 34. But yeah, 33. I'm going to continue 33. And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, you should not do him wrong. The stranger that sojourneth with you shall be unto you as a homeborn among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. This, in other words, not only telling you that you got to love them, they tell you about loving your neighbor as yourself, but here now they're talking about loving a stranger as yourself, somebody you really don't identify with as a part of a different nation altogether. But it gives a reason why you should be empathetic. And then not only that, when they tell you about love your neighbor as yourself, I mean, it doesn't emphasize I'm the Lord, to the degree that it does. Here, I'm the Lord your God. That's what it says here. I'm the Lord your God. And when it gets down to the stranger. So it's an extra emphasis on that. And then it's talking about an emotion. Now, do that mean that you treat the stranger better than you? No, that don't mean that. That means that you will want for the stranger what you want good for you in your life. And therefore, if you say, okay, I guess I just use numbers. Say I got $1 million. Here's a stranger. He got $200,000. So it doesn't mean that I say I gotta give him some of my money and love him that much, where he could be equal to me in finances, because I matter. What I want is that he's able to achieve what he needs to achieve to reach that milestone that I did. So it's a big difference. And these are things sometimes we don't discuss when we're talking about loving a stranger, because, you are the individual. And then when you're talking about love the stranger, what you got to recognize is that you're seeing actually two souls, two people. His physical, and recognizing that he spiritually is belonging to the Creator, because the Creator said all souls are mine. So now what you see is that inkling of godliness in that individual, that you want the best for him. Now, is it easy to love somebody that might do you wrong, might not, be worth it? It's not easy. That's why it's a command. It's not something that's easily done. But do you disregard if they did you wrong? No, you don't. You don't disregard that either. So these laws here, like I said, it takes a discussion on each and every particular verse in the scriptures to discuss what it is to love the stranger, and how much should I love the stranger, and when should I not, want him to do certain things or be able to get certain things. Because you read somewhere in the Proverbs, reading the Proverbs, known to whom you're doing good, because you might be strengthening the hand of an evildoer. So those are things that we got to consider. But we must love a stranger and want for him what we will want for ourselves. We want a certain amount of success. We should hope that the stranger that dwells with us has the success he needs to promote our society. So that's one of the things I focus on in that area. And the very last thing is here, Quadosheem, with the relationships. And I'm just going to pick one, because there's so many of them that's talking about that's forbidden. And what we got to realize too, the Torah is not about love American style. And some of us that's older, they used to have a TV show called Love American Style. Everything goes on. In some states, a person could be, a woman could be, caught in infidelity. That doesn't matter in a divorce thing. That's the way it is in some states. But the thing is, in Torah, it gives specifics not to be involved with certain things, and Torah condemns it. And we can't justify what the Creator condemns, because this is about being holy. And we read earlier within the portion that the Creator is the one that sanctifies. So when we go further in the, I'd like to bring out one particular thing that's unique. In the 20th chapter, I think, let me see, the 7th verse, the 7th, let me make sure. Let me see. All right, well, it talks about, I don't want to deal with that one right now. That's not deal with it. I want to go with the forbidden relationships here. Let me see, the 17. All right. So I'm picking up from the 20th chapter of Leviticus, the 17th verse. And it says, and if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a shameful thing. They shall be cut off in the sight of the children of their people. He hath uncovered his sister's nakedness. He shall bear his iniquity. All right. I just want to focus on that one little verse. And for those that follow the Hebrew, they have an unusual word that they use in there, which is kesed. And then being we count the omen, those people use different characteristics of things. Kesed usually means compassion, kindness. Matter of fact, at the sin of the golden calf, when one of the 13 attributes that the Creator said before Moses, one of them was kesed. So now, since kesed normally means compassion and kindness, why would it be used here in something that's prohibited in the derogatory sense? And then we know Abraham married his sister. We know it was not a law before, where we participate in all the things that's forbidden later for holiness. We participated within those particular violations. That if it was stated, now those things that's prohibited, a lot of participated in it, and a lot of great men participated in it. But what happens is this: compassion, love, the kindness is good. So they're saying that the man that will deal with his sister and uncover the nakedness, he have a compassion, a kindness, but it's misplaced holiness. It's misplaced compassion. It's overdoing, putting compassion and holiness in the wrong area. And that's one of the rare cases you ever find the word kesef used in this particular verses concerning this matter. And only with this matter that word kesef is used in. So so when we talk about having compassion and having a kindness, we got to make sure that it is directed in the right way to the right place for the right cause. So now I'm gonna go and focus right on the Haftarah. The Haftarah will be from the book of Ezekiel, the 20th chapter. And I'm gonna start at the first verse, just to give a backdrop, just a little bit in the first verse. But it's the 20th chapter of Ezekiel, going to the 27th verse of Ezekiel. So, 20th verse of Ezekiel, sorry. So it'd be from the first, the 20th chapter, and it's going all the way to the 20th verse, but I'm gonna start at the first verse instead of the second. So if you got that, Chief, we can start there at the top. Can't hear you. Yeah, I think you muted. Yes. Yes.
Make sure that you heard me. Going to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Make sure that I got this right. It reads, and it came to pass in the 7th year, in the 5th month, the 10th day of the month, that certain of the elders of Israel came to inquire of Yahweh and sat before me. And the
All
word
right, there.
of
Before we get to the actual Haftarah itself, I don't know why they started in the second verse instead, but it's a lot of things like that. The Haftarah is like, you can have 1,000 reasons why they chose this Haftarah or that Haftarah, and the powers to be at the time, designated, and we've been following that tradition. But one of the things that's interesting is that the seventh year of what? Ezekiel was one of the captives. He was taken off to Babylon. So and if it said in the fifth month, we know in that month, on the 10th day of the month, the temple was destroyed. And most people, they observed the fast of Ab on Tisha B'Av, which is the fifth month, counting from the Exodus, counting from the month of Aviv. The month of Ab would be the fifth month. But when you talk about the seventh year, that means that this already, people been taken away captive for that long, almost 10 years before Nebuchadnezzar actually destroyed the temple. So he wanted the early people that was taken away into Babylon. So was Daniel, Ananias, Azariah, Mishael, which was commonly known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those guys, they went. So when you're talking about 7 years now of the captivity, you figure they was taken off as teenagers. We assume that Ezekiel was a young man. So, but he said he's sitting with the elders of Yehudah. And we know that Nebuchadnezzar wasn't bringing elders into the captivity around him, pretty much. He getting the young people because he's destroying all the old heads in the land. And he wanted the young people of the seed royal in the early part of his sieging and attacking Jerusalem to be able to learn the Chaldean tongue and hopefully indoctrinate them into Babylonian culture. So, and induct them into that. So the elders is not really that old at this particular time. But these is more so now with the term to talk about the elders, it means those of royalty, of the different royal houses, the priest line, the king line, different leaders of the community, but they're youngsters, but these is like the senior guys in this particular area there. Because we know from history, he didn't walk with a lot of old folks back into Babylon. That matter of fact, that walking that track would be detrimental for a lot of people that have a lot of age on them, being walking off, most of them naked, and not giving a good meal traveling. So the early part of the people that were snatched up, they did a little better than the ones that came later after the destruction of the temple. But Ezekiel, he had this vision at this time, and he was a priest. And we're going to read a little bit about that. So when they said the 10th day of the month, the tradition said that the fire started on the 9th of Tisha B'Av, but it was completely demolished on the 10th of the month. So they deal with the time that the fire actually was set ablaze on the Beit Hamikdash at that time. So that's why there's a Tisha B'Av as opposed to the 10th day of that particular month. And there's other reasons people give for it too, but that's one of the main reasons they give. All right, so we picked up from the second verse, the beginning of the Haftarah itself.
Verse 2 reads, And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak unto the elders of Israel, and say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh God, Are ye come to inquire of me? As I live, saith...
Yeah, all right. First of all, why are you asking now? What's your purpose of asking now? You're already in jail. You're already in captivity. And they come to Ezekiel and say, look at it. We know you've been talking with God. God been working with you a little bit. We need some answers over here. So ain't that something? They say, they're too late. Because now things had to take its course. And the Creator said, thus said the Lord, you come to inquire of me. Why you wouldn't want to ask me something now? So in other words, you don't want to be bothered, but continue from the same verse.
Are ye come to inquire of me? As I live, saith Adonai Yehovah, I will not be inquired of by you. Wilt thou judge them? Son of man, wilt thou judge them? Cause them to know the abominations of their fathers, and say unto them, Thus saith Adonai Yehovah, in the day when I chose Israel, and lifted up my hand unto the seed of the house of Jacob, and made myself known unto them in the land of Egypt, when I lifted up my hand unto them, saying, I am Yehovah your God. And that
All right,
day,
stop before we go to 6 first. All right. And said, look, do you want to judge these people? Now you're a captive with them. You know, you over in the same area. Yes. So and God said, look, do you want to judge them? Maybe you can find something that I don't see. You know, maybe you're gonna try to exonerate them, or will you persecute them? Because I don't want to be inquired of. Why would they inquire of me now? And I'm gonna give them some history, about that. And that's why the Creator said, "Do you want to judge them?" Now that's something. Is one of the things that's pretty rough in life is when we talk about grudge, and vengeance, and they talk about you're not supposed to, bear a grudge against the children of people. One of the things about grudging is that when a person is chopping meat or chopping vegetables, and they cut their finger or their hand while chopping the vegetable or the meat, they gonna say, "Oh, man, I'm gonna cut their hand off, man, because that hand cut my other hand." This is what it is. Sometimes, you ain't gonna cut the hand that cut you while you trying to cut some vegetables or cut some food up. You ain't gonna cut it back because it's still on the same body. So here it is. Now, Ezekiel, do you want to judge them? But let's go on and find out what's happening.
Verse 6. And that day I lifted up my hand unto them to bring them forth out of the land of Egypt into a land that I had sought out for them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the beauty of all lands. And I said unto...
Now, all right. Ezekiel know our history. There's very few Israelites know Israelite history. And that's a sad revelation. When you talking about, you never read that in the book? You never seen that in the book? You don't know anything about yourself? That was one of the strongest platforms we had coming up when I was a youth. Don't tell me about your religion. Tell me about your history. Tell me who you are. This one of our major things we used to hit the streets with. What is your nationality? Who are you? First of all, don't tell me what you're trying to do. Don't tell me what you're trying to follow. First, tell me, who are you? Do you know you? And a lot of people used to use the N word back then and say, you're nothing but an N, just like I am an N. We're proud of that. But we are people, but let's go on a little bit further. I don't want to go too far off the point.
Verse 7. And I said unto them, cast ye away every man the detestable things of his eyes, and defile not yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am Jehovah, your God. But they rebelled against me, and will not hearken unto me. They did not every man cast away the detestable things of their eyes, neither did they forsake the idols of Egypt. Then I said, I will pour out my fury upon them, to spend my anger upon them in the midst of the land of Egypt. But
all right, before we go further, if you let most Israelites tell you, they'll say, we didn't worship none of them strange gods in Egypt. We weren't about that Egyptian religion. Ezekiel know our history. And the Creator letting them speak the history because Ezekiel wasn't there. And Ezekiel had to bring these words straight from the Creator and saying, oh yeah, we didn't deserve to be delivered. We was delivered because of the promise when we came out of Egypt. Not because we deserved to come out. It's because of what he swore unto Abraham. And then he said, I would judge them people. you know, but we didn't deserve it because we picked up everything that it talks about in the book. Everything that's forbidden, that we were not supposed to be parcel to, we was parcel to on a majority scale. Not everybody, but on a majority scale. And where we're going at, said don't get caught up in that again because you was familiar with that. And so don't go back to that old landmark. But let's read a little bit further. So this tells us about our people and our culture.
Verse 9. But I wrought for my name's sake that it should not be profane in the sight of the nations among whom they were, in whose sight I made myself known unto them, so as to bring them forth out of the land of Egypt. So I caused them to go forth out of the land of Egypt and brought them into the wilderness. And I gave them...
Hold it. Wait. Now, you know, I like the 10th verse because it says, I caused them to go forth. Y'all didn't want to leave. After things got smooth, y'all would have stayed there. We'd have been there to this very day because things got smooth for a moment. They off our back. We're living large again. We're like the time of good king, the good vizier number 2 man Joseph. We living like that. But it was the Egyptians that was urgent upon the people and made us leave Egypt. We on our own, and that's why it would say eat in haste and be ready, because if the Creator didn't push the pressure on us and had other outside people putting pressure on us to leave, we would still say, oh, well, it ain't that bad no more, man. Things ease up on us. You know how we get with the civil rights? And we used to say when I was coming up, said, don't give us, you know, that just that civil rights, you know what I mean? Give us that SILVER rights, you know, give us some real silver and we can make our way. But this is pretty much sometimes when you read Ezekiel and you think about the history, we don't get all the different details about how we really was living in Egypt and how we became so acculturated in Egypt. Continue.
Verse 11, it reads, and I gave them my statutes and taught them mine ordinances, which if a man do, he shall live by them. Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Yehudah that sanctify them.
All right there. That's the only way we consider clean, sanctified, holy, Quadosheem. Only way is that the Creator give us a prescribed rules to live by, and by following those rules, then he said, okay, I'm gonna sanctify you. Just doing the rules alone is no good unless the Creator approve of it. So he sanctify you while you following those guidelines, those laws that he given us. And so he let you know also that the Shabbat again is a sign, it's a testimony that he is the Creator. And there's also a testimony that we recognize and try to give him this praise on that particular day. We'll read a little bit further. 13, we got a few more verses.
Verse 13, it reads, but the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They walked not in my statutes, and they rejected mine ordinances, which if a man do, he shall live by them. And my Sabbaths they greatly profane. Then I said, I will pour out my fury upon them in the wilderness to consume them. But I wrought for my name's sake, that it shall not be profane in the sight of the nations, in whose sight I brought them out.
All right, before we get to the 15. All right, the Creator said, look, because other people don't know me like you're supposed to know me, they would say, this God cannot handle anybody. This God cannot be trusted. This God acts like the pantheon of gods we knew about and talked about. Because in every mythology, everybody's constantly trying to appease the gods, as they say. But not that the God's going to do anything for them and reciprocate for them. They just want to say, I don't want the gods to beat me down. I don't want the gods to curse me with this. I don't want the gods to take this from me. So therefore, I'm trying to appease them within a certain area. So this is why the Creator said, for my name's sake, other people going to think different. about why I slay you. Though you deserve to be slain, why I slay you. So it said, for my name's sake, for my rep. So it ain't about ego, because it's about saving other people from misjudging the Creator. All right, continue. 15.
Verse 15. Yet also I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness, that I will not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the beauty of all lands. Because they rejected mine ordinances, and walked not in my statutes, and profaned my Sabbaths, for their heart went after their idols. Nevertheless, mine eye spared them from destroying them, neither did I make a full end of them in the wilderness. And I said unto their children in the wilderness, walk ye not in the statutes of your fathers, neither observe their ordinances, nor defile yourselves with their idols. I am Yehovah your God. Walk in my statutes and keep my ordinances and do them, and hallow my Sabbaths.
All right, that's good. Keep on, 21st. Yes.
And hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am Yehovah your God. Hallelujah.
All right. So that ends that particular portion. I just want to point out the thing is that the Creator had to tell us through the prophet and everything like that, that walk ye not in the statutes of your fathers, neither observe their ordinances. That means they had rules in the house too. They had family rules. And sometimes your parents might be corrupt. Yet we read about honor and read about the Shabbat being correlated with the fear of every man, his mother, and his father. And usually most people don't fear their mother or stand in awe and respect for their mother, but they had that awe and inspiring faith. Oh, Pop's coming home, man. He ain't taking no shorts. So they tend to, have that kind of awe for the father. Whereas when it says honor, most people honor their moms and don't tend to honor their father because that's who they know the most and they're familiar with the most. So the Lord is showing that they both deserve equal honor, equal respect from their child and from the children. And it's related to one of the things, the most holiest day out the year, the Shabbat, which is our sign. So we could say even further and say that not only the Shabbat is a sign between us and the Creator, but also it's a sign that we have a respect and an honor in an awe-inspiring way for our parents. So I hope you got something out of what I said. Any mistakes been my own. And I agree to and tell my forefather, Shalom Aleichem, Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah Abba Nasik. Thank you for your insightful words, and may the Creator of heaven and earth be with you and protect you. Shalom, shalom.
Amen. Shalom.